What is up, Baggies fans, football fans, and sports fans? And welcome back to the first championship game, match day preview. West Bromwich Albion versus Norwich City at Carrow Road. 3 o'clock football is back, and the championship is back as well. And it's going to be a real tough game away at Norwich City. And I'll say straight away, for me, Norwich are going to be one of the teams I'm expecting to be very good this season. I think they could surprise a few people. I think they've got the potentially pushing into that top 5, top 6 area. And when you look at Philippe Clement and what he's done last season, I don't think that's an outrageous shout at all. We're obviously going to talk about Norwich, the threat that they possess, Touré up front in particular, because he's my pick for Championship Golden Boot this season. We're also going to talk about the absolute horrendous 5-0 defeat at the Hawthorns last season, because for me, this Saturday game is an early opportunity to show the Albion side under Morrison is a very different side to the one that we saw under Eric Ramsay last season. Then we're going to Albion, the Alex Merrick situation, which is breaking as of tonight, recording this on Thursday, how I think we'll line up, and of course, my score prediction. Before we get into that, make sure you smash that like button, subscribe to the channel if you are new around here, and let me know your prediction for Norwich City against West Brom. I do also want to say my thoughts and prayers go out to everybody affected by the wildfires in Stourbridge as well. Today, it's been horrendous seeing it. I work quite close to Stourbridge and going through Stourbridge, and it was absolutely awful to see that. So anybody that's affected by that, obviously my thoughts and prayers go out to you. Moving on, let's talk about Norwich City. And I do genuinely think they're going to have a very good season. If you look at last year, they were absolutely mess at the start of the season. Then Philippe Clement come in, took them, and they were right down the bottom. I think they were in the bottom 3 when he took over. They ended up eventually finishing 9th. That's just what a turnaround. Albion's own preview points out that they were actually second to bottom on Christmas Day, winning 14 out of their final 22 league games. That's a ridiculous turnaround. And I think sometimes when you look at the final league table, you can forget just how much ground they actually made up. If Clement had that for the whole season, that'd have been probably a top 2 finish, in my opinion, or even top 3, in the playoffs. Would they have been right amongst that promotion conversation? I think so. Obviously, we'll never know, but what we do know is the form they showed under Clement was absolutely no fluke. He came in, he gave him identity, became much harder to play against. They looked more organised, they looked fitter, more confident, and suddenly you had players who were completely different to the ones we'd seen earlier in the season. And that's why I think Norwich could have a really good year. I know they're probably, 5, 6, 7 teams that you could probably put above them when you're making your championship predictions. You've obviously got the relegated Premier League teams, probably more so West Ham and Wolves in that. But then you've got clubs that have spent quite heavily as well. Bristol City look like they could be a dark horse. Obviously, Millwall had a fantastic season last season. So, there's going to be some teams that are already up there. And Middlesbrough as well, can't forget them. But Norwich are one of those sides that I just think don't sleep on them. They've got that continuity with Clement. They've already shown what they're capable of under him. And now he's had a full summer as well. He's been able to work with the players, get his ideas across, and properly start shaping that squad around how he wants to play. So for me, I think Norwich could be pushing for that top 5 area. Whether they actually get promoted or not, I'm not quite sure yet. But would I be surprised them having a really strong season and putting a fair few amount of goals against teams? Not at all. And the biggest danger man for me is the Touré up front. He's an absolute nightmare. He's big, he's strong, he's quick enough to run in behind, occupy centre halves. Most importantly, he scores goals. He scored 9 league goals in 11 appearances for Norwich after joining them last season, which is some return when you come into a new club in a new league. He's already got himself up and running, scoring in Norwich's 4-1 league cup win over MK Dons last weekend. And for me, I'm having him as my outside for Golden Boot as well. I really do rate him, and I don't think if Norwich don't go up this season, he will be on his way to a Premier League club next year or one of the top 5 leagues. There's going to be some very good strikers in this division, but Touré's got what you want as a championship striker. He's got physicality, he's got finishing, and he's got pace. It's just perfect for championship football. And that's what worries me on Saturday. Because if you're Nat Phillips or George Campbell or Mepham or whoever Morrison chooses to go with, you are going to have a proper battle from the first minute to the last minute. You cannot allow him to bully you. You cannot allow him to bring the ball down, turn, bring other players into the game and get in the box. Because Norwich have got players around him that will punish you as well. It's not simply a case of Touré and you stop Norwich, but he's definitely the one where I'd say Morrison would be saying, centre halves, do not let this bloke settle. Do very much what Mark Gay did against Norway in the Cup against Haaland. Into him as soon as he gets the ball. Don't let him turn, don't let him bring the ball under, tight to him. make him work for absolutely everything. Because if we let Norwich start playing football and we allow Touré to get into the game early, the crowd is going to get behind the team, and suddenly Carrow Road becomes a very difficult place to go. And obviously, we can't talk about that Norwich without talking about that game last season. Albion 0, Norwich 5 at the Hawthorns. Absolutely embarrassing. Me and my dad, it's the earliest we've ever left football. You know, 5 different Norwich players scored that night, and it was one of those performances where everything that could go wrong did go wrong. And I don't want to spend too long going back at it because, frankly, I think most Albion fans would quite happily erase last season from their memory. But I do think it matters going into Saturday because the players in that squad who still played in that game, the players who remember how it felt, I want to see a reaction. I'm not saying we have to go to Carrow Road and get revenge and put 5 past them. That's not what I'm talking about. What I mean is I want to see evidence of better football team than where we are when we played them last time. That game under Eric Ramsay, we're now under Morrison. I think we've already seen an improvement under Morrison. Obviously, the end of last season, this pre-season and the Rotherham game. Defensively, we look a little bit more sound. We've only just conceded 9 goals in 13 competitive games since Morrison took charge towards the end of last season, keeping 7 clean sheets in that run as well. It makes a massive, massive difference. So Saturday's a really good measuring stick because Norwich destroyed us at the Hawthorns. Now we're going to their place. Show me that we've grown. Show me that Morrison has improved this team. Show me the things that we did aren't going our way. We aren't going to completely collapse like we did that night. Even if we lose the game, I want to walk away from Carrow Road thinking Albion competed. We went toe-to-toe with a side that I think will be right up towards the top end of the Championship, and we made them work for it. Because if that's the Albion we need to start seeing this season. So moving on to Albion, and obviously the big talking point at the time of recording is Alex Mowat. It looks increasingly likely he's on his way to Derby County. The latest reports he's completed his medical. The opening bid was rejected and have come back in with an improved offer, and it's all going through. And if the deal happens before Saturday, after Saturday, or doesn't happen at all, it really raises an interesting question. Morrison, has he planned for life without Mowat? Because if Albion are willing to let him go, then you'd imagine the answer has to be yes. But has he been working this whole week with him thinking, right, you're playing in this position, you're doing this? He's been such a big part of the midfield for years. He's experienced, he understands the Championship, he gives you that left foot, he can dictate the tempo, but he has, struggled towards the end of games and can't give you a full Championship season. So if he goes, who comes in to take that responsibility? We got the 4-1 win against Rotherham in the Cup last weekend, and I actually think we could see a fairly similar side at Norwich. Albion started that game with O'Leary, Galvez, Phillips, Campbell, Styles, Price, Diakite, Mowat, Whitwell, and Heggibo and JJ Morgan up front. Obviously, there might be 1 or 2 changes, but for me, it's what happens if Mowat isn't involved. I could potentially see Price dropping into that Mowat position, becoming the deep midfielder to pick the ball up and try and spray the passes, or even Felix coming in to that position. Then you could have Whitwell coming into Price's role, which will allow him to get involved more centrally. And on the right-hand side, it leaves a bit of space. And for me, I think that's possibly where we could see this new lad, Remy Ngzula, come in, because that's what it looks like. He played a little bit under Strasbourg and Montpellier out on that right. So maybe that's kind of what Morrison's been planning this week. We don't know. Until we see the team on Saturday, who knows? But it's going to be interesting to see what Morrison has planned. I actually quite like the idea of Whitwell getting a proper go at it this season. He had a good season under Forest Green, and then we called him back, and he never really, carried on with it. So it's a shame, but I do think we need to give him a proper run in. Can Whitwell have that same influence, in that sort of role, or out on the right with when he's being pressed quicker? Can Price take more responsibility? Can Diki give us that physical presence to allow the other players to play around him? Midfield battle's going to be massive. And then up front, obviously, you've got JJ Morgan, who's absolutely given Morrison something to think about. Scoring goals for fun, exactly what you want from, I wouldn't even say he's a striker. He's more of a, number 10 that sits off the striker, but he is scoring goals for fun. Heggibo's crucial to the way we play. Yes, he might not score goals for us, but he draws players into him, which allows the other players to play. Felix Hormeyer, when he come on, fantastic, picking the ball up in pockets of space, playing the ball with the outsiders. But, so many different combinations that could be seen in the weekend. But for me, we're going to be pinned back in moments. We're going to have to survive those moments. We're going to have to stay compact, not give away silly goals. And when we win the ball back, get onto them straight away. Don't waste 3 or 4 passes. Make that one killer pass that'll split them open. If Morgan continues running at defenders, if Price is getting forward, Whitwell goes into those little pockets of space with Felix, it could cause some real problems for us. I'm certainly not going into the game thinking we've got no chance. I just think it's a really difficult start for us. And actually, when you look at our first few championship fixtures, it's brutal. Norwich away, Burnley at home, Borough away. You could genuinely look at those first three games and say Albion played reasonably well and still have very few points. Even if we had 0 points from the first three, would I be surprised? Honestly, probably not. I know that seems extremely negative before we even kicked a ball in the championship, but we've got to look at who we're playing, where they're coming from. Norwich are a side that could push top five. Burnley have just come down from the Premier League. Borough have got ambitions in themselves and spent serious money. It's an incredibly difficult opening three matches. But at the same time, we can't use that as an excuse. We're going to have to show that we're growing together as a team, that we are difficult to beat, that we can go to places and get results. You can't just wait for the easy fixtures, because really in the Championship, is there any easy fixtures? And that's probably why I'm most excited to find out over these first few weeks. How good are we actually? Because last season was survival. Morrison came in, did his job, kept us up, and got the reward by getting the job. He's had a summer now. He's had some recruitment. He's been able to keep the working with the squad from start to finish. I'm not expecting us to suddenly go and win the league. I'm not even sitting here saying we'll definitely make making the playoffs, but I want to see progression. I want to see us competing with teams like Norwich. I want to see him going away from home and believing we can win, not trying to set up shop for a 0-0 draw or a 1-0 win. I want to see us pushing ourselves into the conversation rather than spending another season looking over our shoulders. And Saturday's the first chance to show that. So score prediction time. I've gone back and forth on this one. I can see Norwich winning. I really can. I think they're a very good side, and I think Touré is going to be a massive threat. But I've got a strange feeling Albion are going to do something. So I'm going for a 2-2 draw. It'll be an entertaining end-to-end game. Both sides will score. I can feel it. I think Norwich probably have periods where they look really dangerous and we're hanging on a bit. But I also think fancy us to crack some chances. And if you offered me a point at Carrow Road right now, considering how highly I rate Norwich this season, I think I'd take it, especially what happened after Hawthorns last year. So yeah, definitely Norwich 2, West Brom 2. Get that first point on the board, show some character, show improvement from that 5-0 humiliation, and bring on Burnley the Hawthorns. But let me know, guys, what do you think? Do you agree that Mohamed Touré could be Championship Golden Boot winner? What do you think will happen with Alex Mowat? And most importantly, give me your score predictions. Don't forget to subscribe. If you've enjoyed this video, make sure you smash that like button, and I'll see you potentially on Saturday for the match day watch along. Once I get down on holiday, I'll let you guys know. Bye bye.